This is a video for how to go about fixing errors in Trammel Toy block parts in Fusion 360. For the sake of this video, we will only be fixing the corner guide blocks that you see that are gold in color and how they relate to the lower base top and base bottom. In order to go in and start editing parts, we want to go in and we want to turn off the visibility of all of our bolts and all of our McMaster parts that we see. We see bolts, we're going to see some hexagon nuts, we're going to see some dowel rods, and we want to turn off the visibility of all of those parts. We don't need to see those parts. We're also going to turn off the visibility of our joints up here at the top, because the only thing that I really need to see to edit the part are going to be the corner blocks, and we're also going to be referencing the pin slides. For the sake of how we're going to start, we don't need to see the sliding blocks, so we're going to turn off the visibility of those. We're going to take a look at our objects, and the first object we're going to look at is this corner side piece right here that we can tell has an issue on the bottom to where it does not touch the bottom. It is perfectly constrained to a rectangular prism void here, but we need to get the bottom of this to come down and touch the object. So we're going to turn off the visibility of our base top and our base bottom, and we're going to turn on the actual object that we see here. So I'm just going to drag my mouse over here, and we want to get a hold of the actual piece right here, which is the LL corner guide block, and I'm going to activate that component. And we're going to come around and use our view cube, and we want to place a new sketch on the bottom of this piece right here. And I'm going to say capture position. And it's going to flip. And I'm going to hit P on my keyboard for project geometry, and I want to project both the large square and the small square, and I'm going to say OK. And I'm going to go to finish sketch. And we can rotate a little bit here, and I want to go back and turn on the base top and the base bottom because I wanted to be able to see the object that I was with the geometry I was projecting. Now I'm going to go to extrude, and I only want to extrude this surface here. So I'm going to have to zoom in a little bit, and this is the only surface that I want to extrude. But I want to come over to distance, and I want to go to to object, and I'm going to rotate a little bit just to make sure that I can see the very top of this surface right here, because what I'm trying to do is fill in this gap in here. So when I take a look at the side, I am filling in that gap. We're just going to say OK. And you can see how we've gone in and we've filled in that gap on the bottom now, and it's rested around that smaller square. We're going to go to sketch again. We're going to click on the side of the object. I'm going to hit P for project geometry. I'm going to tap inside the object. I'm going to go to finish sketch. I'm going to go to extrude. I'm going to go to distance, and I'm going to go to to object, and we want to go to this outside surface out here. We want to come out and meet the outside surface. I'm going to say OK. We're going to go to sketch again. I'm going to click on this surface, project geometry, this surface. I'm going to finish sketch. I'm going to go to extrude, and I want it to go to an object, and I want it to come out to this outside edge. We're going to have to move our view cube just a little bit so we can see that surface. I want it to come out and meet that edge, and we say OK. Now, if I come back up and I join the larger assembly, you will now see that we have made this part to where it will come out and meet the edges. The other parts are close to meeting that edge. We only have one other one that doesn't meet that edge. We'll get to that part next. The other issue we have to deal with this specific part is it's raised too high. It is higher than the other three parts. We need to trim off the top of this object. So once again, we're going to go to that part, and we're going to activate it. I'm going to go create a sketch, and the surface we want to create a sketch on is right here. That's going to flip around on me. I kind of want to come back around and look at it. Sometimes you have to take your view cube and rotate until we can actually see the surface that we had clicked on. And this is the surface right here. I'm going to hit P for project geometry. And what I want to project in this case is I want to project this line right here. This line I want to project onto there. I'm going to grab a hold of a 2-point rectangle, and I'm going to click over here, and I'm going to try to snap up here, and it did snap. So what I'm trying to make sure of is that the surface right here that we're getting ready to cut would be coplanar with this surface, and I'll go into more of that in a second. We have a rectangle right here. We're going to go to finish sketch, extrude, click inside this rectangle. We're going to drag the opposite direction, and I'm going to go down to all, and I'm going to say OK. I'm going to activate our larger assembly, and you can see what I mean when I mean coplanar. That now is at the same height as the other pieces. all 4 of these are on the same plane. I could set something on top of it and it would be at a perfectly flat angle. Our next object that we have to edit is going to be this surface over here for this part. So we're going to drag over the top of our pieces here, and I'm going to activate this piece. We're going to grab a hold of Create Sketch. We're going to click on this side right here. I'm going to want to come back around again just to make sure I can see it. Hit P for Project Geometry, tap inside my surface, finish my sketch, go to Extrude, and we're going to go over to Object, click on this surface here. It's going to come right out to that edge. I'm going to activate the larger assembly, and it is now flushed. It is now flush with that edge. If we go around to our 2-dimensional views here, we will see that we have flushed objects. We don't have anything coming out to the edge. We don't have anything that's in like a void. Now everything comes right up to the edge. Everything is constrained. And the only issue we have now is, you know, if I come back over and I turn on our pin slide blocks here, we have a lot of interference going on. And what interference means is that these red sliders are actually inside these gold blocks. And if I came up to inspect and I went to interference, I can click on this red piece and this gold piece and go to compute. And this is how much interference is going on between those two. This is how much volume is taken up by that interference. And I'm going to say OK. So the issue that we have is we want these 2 pieces to be able to slide down through the object without any interference at all. It would be physically impossible for these things to move through because they're actually going into objects. We're going to do some things that will fix that. So I'm going to turn off the visibility of our pin slide blocks. And I'm going to come around. And we're not going to go into any specific parts. We're just going to kind of stay in the larger assembly. And I'm going to come up to Create Sketch. And I'm going to click on one of these sides. I'm going to say Capture Position. And I'm going to hit P for Project Geometry. And what I want to do is I want to come in here and I want to click on every one of these lines. It might be even easier for us if we were just a little bit more of an isometric view, maybe from this corner, something like that, to where I can say, no, I want to come in here and I want to grab a hold of every one of these lines that I can get my hands on. Let me see if I can come around and maybe make this a little bit easier to see. I just want to only get a hold of those things. I have 7 total things selected, and I'm going to say OK there. Now, I do need to close off this profile by clicking from here to here because I didn't project anything up there on top. I do now have this surface created over here on the side, and I'm going to go to Finish Sketch, and I'm going to go to Extrude, and I'm going to click inside that surface. And what I want to do is I'm just going to drag all the way through this object, but I want to say, for a distance, I want to say to object, and I'm going to come over here on the other side and click here. But I don't want to cut, I want to join. I want to fill that in like I'm filling it in with Play-Doh, and I'm going to say OK. And when I come back around to the other side, you're going to see this is flat. You see a little bit of an edge in here because of what we've created. It looks like that one's a little bit elevated. Maybe I clicked on something over here, or maybe I messed up with where I clicked. But just for the sake of the video and the discussion, you can see how we've made this and how it lines up. Maybe I can come back and it looks like maybe I have a ridge here that I need to fix. Maybe I cut off a little bit too much over here, but we can always go back and fix that. To the other side, I'm going to grab a hold of my sketch. I'm going to come in here. I want to come up to the top right when we take a look at this. P for Project Geometry. I'm going to go ahead and project. I'm going to go ahead and project these lines. Let's go ahead and project down here. It looks like I do have that nice and lined up. I do need to grab a hold of my pencil. I'm going to come into here and I'm going to play. Oh, it looks like that's at a weird angle there, doesn't it? It looks like it is raised up a little bit. It's not really going to hurt. I guess I do need to come in and I'm going to delete this line just for now. Let's delete this line. And I'm going to grab a hold of a line. I just want to draw straight across here. Grab a hold of the trim command. I'm going to trim that off. If I have anything that's going on up here for a ridge, if I made a mistake, I can go back and fix that later. I'll do that. I'll wait until the end of the video to fix that. And I'm going to go ahead and just say Finish Sketch. And we're going to come in and we are going to go to Extrude. And I'm just going to extrude that. And for this case, I can go ahead and say Distance and go to Object. And I'm going to say, just go to hit this wall for me. And I'm going to say Join, and I'm going to say OK. Now, it looks like there's a little bit of something going on in here. Maybe I missed something. I can fix that from this other side. And from the other side, I'm going to come right in here, and I'm going to go to Pencil. I'm going to click on this side, and once again, Project Geometry. You guessed it. Come right in here. I'm going to click on these surfaces if I can. Click on this line, this line. I got a line down here. Let's get ourselves a line up here. I'm going to rotate this around. I got 7 different things selected in here. Let's go to OK. Let's go to Finish Sketch. Extrude. I'm going to click inside of each one of these profiles. I'm going to go to 2, distance, to object. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to click on that surface. I want to go all the way, hit that, and I'm going to say join. I'm going to say OK. Now, it looks like I made a mistake. So while I'm here, I kind of want to come in here and see this mistake that I made because this has been bugging me. Looks like I raised up that ridge too much. And if I don't know if there's a ridge out over here, maybe I just missed some little small part. So I need to come in here and I'm going to say, I need to click on that edge right there because this is driving me crazy. I made one small mistake. So if you didn't make the same mistake I did, well played, but I did make a mistake and I just need to come in here and I need to click on this surface if I can. And I'm going to go ahead and tap out here. I'm going to do a quick cut. So I'm going to escape twice on my keyboard. I'm going to come in here, grab hold of a 2-point rectangle, and I'm going to click on this corner. I'm going to drag all the way down to this corner down here. See if it'll snap for me. It doesn't want to snap, so I'm going to have to project this right here so I get that corner. I'm going to say OK. Now let's come up to 2-point rectangle. I'm going to click on that edge up there. I'm going to drag down over to here, make sure that snaps there. Finish sketch. Extrude inside that surface. I'm going to cut all the way through just for the sake of the video. I'm just going to go ahead and say OK. I'm going to let off and you can see now, you can see the little ridges from the geometry we made, but those aren't really ridges as far as height goes. Those are just there for appearance. So as we go through, I'm going to go ahead and click on create sketch. I'm going to click on this edge over here. I want to flip this around so I can look at it. P for project geometry. I'm going to click on each one of these edges here. Click on this line, grab a hold of the line command, and we should go straight across. That'll snap nice and even. I'm going to say OK, go to extrude. I'm going to click inside this object. For some reason, it doesn't want to see that object, though, does it? We go to extrude, and it's seeing something else over here. So I kind of need to go back to undo. Let's see what happened here. It looks like it's only seeing this surface over here. So I'm going to grab a hold of my line command, and I just want to make sure that we can see this. And what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to use the arc command here in a second. I'm just going to go ahead and draw myself my lines over the top. Sometimes when you project geometry, it might not see everything you're wanting it to see. I'm going to go down to arc. I'm going to grab hold of 3-point arc, and I'm going to say here, here, and see if I can't get this thing just to snap there. I'm going to go to here, and we're going to snap that into place right there. Finish sketch. Move this a little bit, extrude. I'm going to click inside this surface, and I need to see what surface it's going to go to. I'm going to go distance. I'm going to go to object. I'm going to click back here. I'm going to go to cut. I'm going to go to join. I'm going to say OK. You're going to see now we have our object. I'm going to flip this around so we can see it on the flat here. Every void is now filled in. Looks like we have, looks like just a flat surface here. What's nice about this, there's some small edge over here that I may have missed. This is really small. I can go back and fix that. It's kind of a small detail. You know, when you're going through and you're designing things kind of quick, sometimes those little small things will change. That's something I can do outside of the video, but you get the idea of where I was headed. What we need to do next is we're going to turn back on the pin slide blocks. And I'm going to go ahead and drag these out. I'll keep one of them out. So I'm going to keep just this one out for now. We're going to come up and we're going to click on create sketch. We're just going to click on one of the gold sides here. I'm going to go to capture position. And I'm going to go with a P for project geometry. And what I want is every one of these surfaces. Every one of these surfaces, make sure I got each one of them. And if I turn my view cube, it will have projected it onto that surface. I'm going to go ahead and say OK. I'm going to turn off the visibility of that slider. Finish sketch. Extrude. I'm going to click inside each of the surfaces I just cut. Inside each one of these, and I'm going to drag all the way through the object. We are in cut. I'm going to go to all. I'm going to say OK. We've cut through there. Turn on the visibility of the other slider. I'm going to drag it out to here, this side for this case. Create sketch, side of the object, capture position, P for project geometry. I'm going to project the geometry of every surface right here. Finish my sketch. Turn. I'm also going to turn off the visibility of this slide block. Extrude inside each one of my surfaces. I'm going to click, and I want to drag all the way through the object. I'm just going to go distance. I'm going to go to all for cut. Say OK. Let's go to our house button. Now it looks like somewhere in here I missed some very small sliver to cut. Looks like there's this little tiny sliver in here. So just while I'm here, I can go in and I can say, when I was projecting geometry, I got a little too, click happy. And I'm just saying, whoops, did not mean to do that. I'm going to come up here and grab a hold of the line command. I like going all the way through and then trimming off things because I have a guarantee that that touches. So instead of going in and trying to be perfect and snap it, it looks like it doesn't, it looks like I didn't project this over here. I'm going to go to project and I want to make sure I project this too. Let's say, okay, I got to go to my line command. And I'm a fan of doing this. I like to go all the way through lines, grab a hold of my trim command and just trim that off. I have a guarantee now. So now I'm going to go to finish sketch. I'm going to have to zoom in on this when I go to extrude. I'm going to come in and I want, that and I want that. And I want to cut all the way through the object. I made a mistake. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to go all the way through the object. It automatically goes to cut. I'm just going to go to all. I'm going to say, okay. And now I have actually, fixed that problem. Now, there might be a few other little small tweaks here and there, but if I come in and I turn on my, my pin slide block and all of these things, and I could turn on that arm if I wanted to, but we don't really need to. And you're just going to notice now when I go through, there should be 0 interference. And I can know that by coming up to inspect and go to interference. Say capture position is fine. Between here and here, is there any interference? Calculate, no interference detected. Let's get rid of those faces. Select between here and here. Is there any interference? No interference. Let's get out of there. Let's look at this one over here. Between here and here. No interference detected. That's what you want. So between here and here, any interference? No interference detected. So this is one of the ways that you go about solving this problem. Now, the bolts in this object have a lot of problems with them as well. So if I went in and I turned on all these bolts, I can still, here's our arm we can turn this around. So it's a nice, little project to do. The bolts in this project have a lot of problems, and I did not fix any of the bolts. So in another video, I will go in and show how to fix the holes, the bolts, and the nuts and the pin issues that are going on with this. Because if I turn off these blocks, we can go in and actually see a lot of these bolts and screws and the issues that they have. So this has been a video on how to go about fixing the corner block pieces for the Trammel toy in order to correct the issues that existed with the one that we had loaded, so we can now 3D print this object and have it 3D printed correctly.